What is going on, guys? It is another Monday night. Welcome. May 18th, 2026. I am the Solomonster, here with you for another mundane Night Raw review. You know, it's funny, we were talking about the Oba Femi Open challenge last week. Now, it almost seemed like they were running out of ideas. Last week, they couldn't find anybody to accept the Open challenge. He had to go to the back, and he found Angel and Berto. He had to drag them out there and beat them up, and I'm like, well, I don't think they can get 6 more weeks out of this. A few more weeks at the most. How are they going to end this Open challenge gimmick? Like, what is the end game here for the Open challenge? Well, we got our answer tonight. We found out. The Open Challenge is over. But the reason that the Open Challenge is over is not the reason I was expecting. The biggest story coming out of Raw tonight, the biggest shock, the biggest surprise, and honestly, the only real thing to even focus on news-wise coming out of this show, because it was a very nothing show otherwise, was the return of Brock Lesnar. He is, in fact, not retired. Now, I was not convinced he was retired officially, but I certainly was not expecting to see him tonight. That was quite the surprise. Seeing him pop up tonight, 2 weeks out, less than 2 weeks out from Clash in Italy. We have a Saturday night's main event coming up this weekend. This was not on my bingo card of things that I was expecting. But if you go back to the WrestleMania review, when he lost to Oba Femi, and everybody was talking about, oh my God, you know, Brock is crying. Look how emotional he's getting in the middle of the ring. And I said, doesn't really look like he's crying to me. He looks like somebody who's trying to pretend that he's crying or trying to force himself to cry. I'm like, what are these people seeing that I'm not seeing that it looks like? You see tears streaming down the man's face? He looked like somebody playing the role of someone who was supposed to be crying. So I was not fully convinced that this man was retired. And then Mike Johnson, a PW Insider, about a week or so ago, had a report that said, even though WWE sort of outwardly is projecting that Brock Lesnar was retired, and I think they may have moved him to the alumni section on their website, that internally he was still listed on the active roster. And so here we are. Brock Lesnar comes out. He ambushes Oba Femi from behind, and he delivers 4 F5s, and he leaves the man laying. And then we come to find out later on, after the commercial break, Paul Heyman handed a contract to Adam Pearce and said, there's already a signature on the contract. Brock Lesnar, by the way. Now, I'm wondering if maybe we didn't see Brock Lesnar tonight. Maybe this was his evil twin. Maybe the real Brock is retired. And this is his evil twin, Brock Lesnar, because that's what Paul Heyman called him. But Brock Lesnar has put his John Hancock on the contract. Yes, he put his cock on the contract, and all Oba Femi has to do now is sign it, and the match will be official for Clash in Italy. So that was the big development coming out of this show tonight. I'm looking at this. First of all, does this surprise me? No. Does this disappoint me? Yes. Because I still maintain that match of WrestleMania where Brock put him over and then had his little retirement send-off would have been legitimately the perfect way for Brock Lesnar to ride off into the sunset. Like, that would have been the perfect closing chapter. If that was the last match, if that was the end of his career, being able to go out, putting over the next big thing in the company, getting the kind of response from the crowd in Las Vegas that he got, waving to the crowd, getting this big ovation, that one last walk up that long ramp, right? What a big send-off at WrestleMania, 50,000 plus people. It would have been a great send-off for Brock. I said there was no need for him to come back and extend this. But this is Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar doesn't give a shit about that. Brock Lesnar doesn't give a shit about happy moments. He doesn't care about his legacy. This is his legacy. Right here. When the day comes that he physically can't do it anymore, or he genuinely just doesn't want to do this anymore, then he'll retire. and he'll probably retire with very little fanfare. But in the meantime, he's got more business to transact. We're going to get a rematch at Clash in Italy. Brock Lesnar is going to win that rematch because there's not a doubt in my mind that they're going to want to get a trilogy out of this. So the only question is, do they do it at SummerSlam, which is in Minneapolis? Which could be weird because you would imagine that, at least with some fans, Brock would be sort of the hometown guy. Not that he lives there anymore, but he's got his roots in Minnesota. So do they do the final match at SummerSlam, which would be a big match to do on that show, or do the Saudis want him? And do they do it at Night of Champions, which is coming up at the end of next month? Because that really is the only question at this point. And to do the trilogy, Brock has to win the second match. I'm not saying that I'm in love with the idea. Again, if it were up to me, it would have been one and done. Oba beats him and moves on. But it's been pretty clear that they didn't have another plan for Oba Femi. This was the plan. The plan was always to run this back. I don't believe for a second this was a panic move. They went to Brock and said, oh my God, we don't have anything for Oba to do. Can you please come back? This was the plan from the beginning. It's pretty apparent now. This is why Oba Femi didn't come right out and challenge Roman Reigns for the World Heavyweight Championship. They wanted to do an extended program here between these two. Very similar to what they did with Brock and Cody. So if it follows that blueprint from 2023, it actually would probably make more sense for them to have the blow-off match at SummerSlam. And ultimately what ended up happening there, what happened? Brock put Cody over. And then he disappeared for 2 years. So we're likely seeing the same thing play out here with Oba. What he did to Oba tonight doesn't bother me. You know, he got attacked from behind. He got laid out by somebody who was pissed off that he got beaten and embarrassed at WrestleMania. Like, I don't want to hear anybody talking about how, oh, you know, they did Oba dirty tonight. He's buried. Like, no. Like, that doesn't concern me at all. Oba will be fine. I just didn't think that this was necessary. Evidently, they felt differently. Best part about it, I guess, is that we're now done with the open challenge. Oba now has an opponent. He has a target. And we're going to get... I'll tell you something else, too. This Clash in Italy card, all of a sudden, you look at some of the developments over the last few days, this Clash in Italy card is shaping up to be pretty big card. Bigger than Backlash. Hell of a lot bigger than Saturday night's main event this weekend. But it's shaping up to be bigger than Backlash because think about it. We not only have Brock Lesnar against Oba Femi, but we have 2 championship matches. We didn't even get that at Backlash. We have the WWE Championship being defended, and we have the World Heavyweight Championship being defended. As we found out tonight, it will be tribal combat between Roman Reigns and Jacob Fatu. I know you're all very concerned now. Oh my God. Tribal combat, not tribal combat. I mean, that's worse than Mortal Kombat. Tribal combat is every WWE plunder match that you will ever see, but with Samoans. That's literally the only difference. Literally the only difference. But that was made official tonight as well for Clash in Italy. And I'll tell you what, I wouldn't mind seeing a title change in that match because the more I think about this, now that we know that they're doing Roman and Fatu in a rematch here next week, not this weekend, but the weekend after, I really, really, really hate the idea of Jacob Fatu going out there and losing 2 in a row. It just doesn't sit right with me. They've done a very good job of building him up as this unstoppable monster that just goes out there and causes all sorts of chaos and just carnage everywhere he goes. And for him to go out, and he lost clean to Roman at Backlash. The idea of him going in there in back-to-back matches and losing, that bothers me. I'm not convinced that they're going to do a title change, but the more I think about it, now that we know it's official, they really should do a title change. I mean, if we're being honest, I don't like the idea of Jacob losing 2 in a row like that, but we'll see what they have in mind. I mean, that match was made official. Becky Lynch and Sol Ruca was made official, not for Italy, though. That was made official for Saturday night's main event, which is coming up this weekend. And honestly, those were the key things on the show. There were a few other things that happened tonight. We had Seth Rollins in the main event against Austin Theory. I mean, try not to fall asleep just listening to me say that sentence. But they had that. Obviously, they're picking up with things with Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker, and we'll find out if that gets added to the Italy card as well. They haven't made that official yet. But we're continuing with Rollins and the Vision. They've kind of worked the Street Profits in there. LA Knight was back on the show. Maybe that was the other big story. LA Knight showed up. We had people the last couple of weeks thinking that he was gone. Where is he? He got cut. He was asked to take a pay cut, and he said no, and he's gone from WWE. Yeah. No, he was back on the show tonight. And he confronted the Usos, and then later in the show, he confronted Seth Rollins to simply tell him, you're going to need help tonight in the main event against the Vision, but it won't be for me, because I'm out of here. And he took his rolling luggage, and off he went. And that was the last we saw of LA Knight for the rest of the night. So at least we know he's still gainfully employed. But outside of that, I mean, what can I say? Raw is what Raw is. You know what Raw is? Raw is DoorDash. In case you didn't know, DoorDash is the official sponsor of Monday Night Raw. I don't see how you can watch the show tonight and not come away knowing that DoorDash is the official sponsor of Monday Night Raw. Oh, they reminded you of that many, many times tonight. We even had an official mascot make an appearance. The Whataburger mascot. Apparently he's called Whataman. Yes. Maybe they could get Salt and Pepper to sing a song for him. What a man, what a man, what a man, what a mighty good man. That probably would be more entertaining than this episode of Monday Night Raw. Let's talk about it. It is Monday night, May 18th, 2026. I am the Solomon. I can't believe they have Whataburger in, where were they tonight? North Carolina? For some reason, I thought Whataburger was more, I don't know, more of like a southern, western thing. Maybe I'm thinking of In-N-Out Burger. We don't have any of those around here. We don't have any Whataburgers around here. I'll have to try that one of these days. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Super chats are open. We have a bonus goal for a potential bonus round of Be the Booker tonight. But of course, we will spin for the likes goal. We'll find out how many likes we need to do Be the Booker right now. But yes, get those super chats on in, and I will be reading all of your messages. But first, we must spin. Hmm. 600. That's the goal. 600 likes. If we hit that goal, we will do Be the Booker. We are at 250 right now. I don't know about that. If you want it bad enough, it's going to be up to you guys. That is the goal. Is What a Man's finisher the What a Maneuver? I would think it would be. I think that's the perfect name for it. I like the way you think. Yeah, you got your work cut out for you there. Good luck. Talk about this show. They open Raw tonight the way that they've been closing Raw. So they at least changed the formula up a little bit. Usually they're closing the show with Roman Reigns showing up late to work. He actually showed up to work on time tonight. SUV pulls up outside. And out comes the world champion. Adam Pearce is there to try to stop him. Saying, if you would have listened to me last week, everything that happened at the end of Raw wouldn't have happened. Because if you remember, Adam Pearce wanted to fire him. He wanted to fire Jacob Fatu. So Roman said, look, none of that shit matters. I'm calling him out right now. And Pearce says, look, he wants to fire Fatu. They're cut off, though, by the sounds of Jacob Fatu's music. He is out on his way to the ring. He comes out and he calls out Roman Reigns. Doesn't get Roman Reigns, though. He gets his errand boys. He gets his young boys. And out come the Usos. Jimmy is trying to be the voice of reason here. Because Jay has a chair. Jimmy is trying to keep the peace. And he makes it very clear to Jacob. He says, look, you lost at Backlash. You had to acknowledge the tribal... Again with this acknowledgement bullshit. You have to acknowledge the tribal chief. Instead, look at you now. You're about to be fired. So Jay, he had enough of the talking. He tried to go after Jacob with the chair. Jacob, though, he took care of Jay. He took care of Jimmy. Put them both down with the Tongan death grip, the dreaded Tongan death grip that could not win him a world championship at Backlash. Roman's music hits. He comes down. The two of them come to blows in the middle of the ring. Roman, he went for a Superman punch. He got caught, though, in the Tongan death grip. So Jay was able to save Roman with a spear to Fatu. Jimmy came off the top with an Uso splash. They hit a 1D to Fatu. They got him tied up in the ropes. Roman laid into him with a Superman punch. Usos delivered multiple super kicks. And then they freed Fatu, and Roman leveled him with one final spear. So he and the Usos, they go to leave as Adam Pearce is coming out. And Roman tells Pearce, now you can do what you want. You want to fire him? Go ahead and fire him. Do whatever you want. Before Pearce, though, has a chance to do so, Jacob, who's down in the ring and he's selling his injuries, he's selling the beatdown, he gets on the microphone and he says, Roman, tribal combat. So now Roman has to think about this. And Adam Pearce is like, no. And Roman says, I accept, because of course. So he accepts the challenge. So we are getting the third tribal combat match that WWE has done since 2023. The first one, if you remember, was a SummerSlam match that year between Roman and Jey Uso, and it fucking sucked. The second tribal combat match was on the debut episode of Raw on Netflix last year. It was Roman Reigns against Solo Sikoa for the Ufalafa, as LA Knight would call it. So this would be number 3. And basically, it is anything goes. It is pinfall or submission only. I don't know if they may add a stipulation to it where the loser has to acknowledge the winner, which would kind of make sense for the storyline because this whole storyline is built on Jacob Fatu. You've got to acknowledge Roman Reigns. You've got to acknowledge the tribal chief, which he refuses to do. So we'll see if they add any other stipulations to it. Tribal combat means that the Usos could help out Roman. Tribal combat means that the Usos can come out there with Roman. It could be 3-on-1. Does that mean Jacob Fatu is going to have to find some backup of his own? Would kind of make sense. Who would that be? Who would that be? There's one person who he has been chummy with on SmackDown, Royce Keys. Not saying he will be involved. I'm just saying if Jacob needed a friend, he's got a friend over on SmackDown who could potentially get involved in this. And he's been wrapped up with Solo Sikoa because Solo's been trying to recruit him now for a few weeks. Again, as I said before, I would like to see them do a title change. I don't know that they're going to do it. I don't know that they're going to want to take that belt off Roman before we get to SummerSlam. Roman, who originally looked like he wasn't even going to be on Raw at all in the month of June, was added back to a few dates next month, so he'll be around a little bit. I don't know that they're going to do that, but I just hate the idea of Jacob going in there and getting beaten twice. You know, you weren't good enough to win the World Heavyweight Championship the first time, so let's run it back in the same fucking month, and just this time with a stip, and we'll beat you again. I mean, they did that a few years ago when Roman won the belt. AJ Styles was his first opponent coming out of WrestleMania. They main evented back-to-back pay-per-views. They had excellent matches. AJ lost both of those. They put Roman over AJ in both those matches. So it's not like they can't do that. They probably will. But then where does Jacob Fatu go? Does he fall in line? Does he finally acknowledge Roman? Then what? Does he go crawling back to SmackDown with his tail tucked between his legs? I'm just wondering what the end game is in this for Jacob Fatu. And whatever it is, I hope that it's something good. He should stay in that upper mix. It would be very easy, though, for him to go in there and lose and then just kind of fall back down. You know, a couple of rungs down the ladder. I'd rather not see that happen. You know, you want to try to make a new star, make a new star. You should be able to make a new star and keep him at that level. I just hope that's what we get out of this when this whole thing is over. We had Finn Balor one-on-one with JD Mcdana. This was their third meeting together, 1 win apiece. So this was the rubber match, and this time it was a street fight. So we got the obligatory plunder match. We had tables, and we had chairs, and we had kendo sticks. And they ended up in the crowd where Mcdana walked up 1 level, and they were kind of in the lower bowl area, and he did a moonsault down onto Balor. After a commercial break, they were back in the ring, and we had some chair combat. First from Balor, then from Mcdana. Balor sent Mcdana through a table in the corner with a shotgun dropkick. Balor went for the coup de grace. Mcdana, though, was able to avoid it. He hit a Busaiku knee. And then he hit a powerbomb with a stack for a 2 count only. Then he hit a moonsault for another near fall off the top. Mcdana set up another table in the ring, another Slim Jim table. Placed Balor on top of it. Balor, though, was able to recover. He crotched Mcdana on the ropes. Placed him on the table. Balor goes up top. And wouldn't you know, Dominic Mysterio is here. And Dominic Mysterio, he gets involved. Rinse, repeat. We see this shit every week. That allowed Mcdana to superplex Balor through the table. It's a hard landing, too, for both of them. Balor, though, was able to kick out at 2. So Dom, at this point, he throws some trash cans into the ring. Should stuff the show in one of them. So Dom and Mcdana, they attacked Balor with the trash cans. JD held Balor in place for a 619. As Dom comes off the ropes, though, Balor reversed out of it. JD ended up taking the 619 instead. So then he stuffed Mcdana into one of the trash cans. He blasted him with a shotgun dropkick, and he finished him off with the coup de grace right on top of the garbage can. Covered him, and he got the win. So this was a fine little plunder match. Closes out the series of matches here between the two of them. I am left wondering, though, if this was the blow-off between Balor and Mcdana, why would this not be the blow-off with Balor and the Judgment Day? That's it. It's over. It's over. He already beat Dom at WrestleMania. Now he's beaten Balor, or Balor has beaten Mcdana, rather. There's nobody left. Who's left? Right? You got the women. Raquel, Roxanne, Liv. Unless Balor is going to go down the line and wrestle all 3 of them, this feels like it's time to move on for Finn Balor. I don't know to what. I don't know with who. I just know that what we've seen with Balor and the Judgment Day, we have exhausted every option here. And hopefully this was the nail in the coffin. That's it. It's time to move on. There ain't nothing left for him to do with this group. It's time for him to get a fresh start. Kathy Kelly was in the back, and she was there to interview Seth Rollins. So Rollins knows he's a marked man. He's got no friends, but he has to put an end to the Vision. Rollins has not had a match on Raw in 9 months. But Adam Pearce has given him the main event tonight. And Rollins said that he'll take on any member of the Vision. 1-on-1, 2-on-1, 3-on-1, 4-on-1. It doesn't matter to him. He'll take any of them on. He singled out, though, in particular, Braun Breaker. And we got a Nepo Baby reference in here somewhere, which if I never hear another fucking Nepo Baby reference in a WWE promo, it won't be a day too soon. Let me ask you a question here before I go on. If you listen to Rollins in this promo, he was pretty clear. He goes, I'll face any member of the Vision. I'll face them all. I'll go 2-on-1. I'll go 3-on-1. Let me ask you, if you're Paul Heyman, how are you not jumping all over that? If you're Paul Heyman, how are you not jumping all over it and going, okay, Adam Pearce, you heard the man. Make it 3-on-1 tonight. We're going to get Austin Theory. We're going to get Logan Paul. We're going to get Braun Breaker. All 3 of them in the main event of Monday Night Raw against Seth Rollins. No. We ended up with Seth Rollins against Austin Theory as the main event. Why? The man said he'll wrestle all 3 members. Seems like a mistake. Seems like a little miscue there on Paul Heyman's part. Elsewhere in the back, Byron Saxton interviewed Sol Ruca, who seemed awfully happy for someone who has gone winless so far since she debuted on the main roster. But she says, I've only been in the business for 4 years. I feel pretty good about myself. Becky Lynch interrupted, and she said that she hasn't been impressed by Sol so far. She's 0 for 2. She should go back to NXT. And Sol seemingly agrees, and she walks off. And Becky talks about, wow, this generation of quitters. But then they hear Sol's music. She's decided to go out to the ring. She goes out to the ring, and she calls out Becky Lynch. So out comes Becky, and Sol suggests that they have a match right here, right now, in Greensboro. Becky says she'd love to, but instead she suggests a match at Saturday night's main event. And she tells her, remember, I'm not just a star maker, I'm a star breaker. And Sol is fine with that. And not only will she snatch Becky's soul, she's going to snatch her Intercontinental title. And Becky points out, wait a minute, I never said anything about the championship. You got to earn that. You're going to have to prove yourself first. So I think we all knew this is where it was headed. I like the match. I like Becky as an opponent for Sol. They could work together all the way through SummerSlam. This is just the first of what I'm sure will be many matches these two have. And she's right. I mean, there's no reason for the title to be on the line. Why belt her up right now? You're just starting the feud. So let them have this match. This should be a win for Sol. Like I said, she's 0 for 2 so far. She lost to Liv Morgan. She lost to Io Sky. Look, there's no shame in losing to the women's world champion or Io Sky, who's the best in the entire company in the ring. But she's 0 for 2. She needs a win. You can't go 0 for 2. And have the top women's heel, or one of them, mocking you for having a losing record. And then you wrestle her and you fucking lose again, right? And it's a non-title match. This should be a win for Sol. I don't know about Clash in Italy, but then they'll follow that up with a title match. And Becky may win that, right? And then they get a third match out of it. But I like this. This is exactly who Sol Ruca should be working with. Becky Lynch is the perfect opponent for her. In the back, Logan Paul and Austin Theory were chatting it up with Paul Heyman nearby when Braun Breaker approached. And he asked, did you hear what Rollins had to say? And he told Heyman, make the match. Tonight, Seth Rollins in the main event, one-on-one against Braun Breaker. Heyman said, well, that sounds great. And thank you for the input. But tonight, in the main event, it is going to be Seth Rollins against Austin Theory, which sounds like a terrible main event for the show. And Braun Breaker, appropriately, Braun Breaker wants to know why. So Heyman then pumps him full of his usual bullshit. And he says, well, look at it like this. Now, you know exactly where Rollins is going to be, at what time he is going to be there, and you know with whom he will have his hands full. And he tells him, I'm going to let you run the play. And Breaker smirks at him, and he nods, and he walks off. Heyman is very persuasive. These people buy into his bullshit far too easily on these shows. We had a trios tornado match. That's what they're calling them now, because, again, these are the luchadors. So they're a trios match. Trios tornado match with all 6 Americanos. It looked like Danhausen, his cloning machine, was hard at work here. We had the OG El Grande Americano and the Creed brothers under masks against El Grande Americano Kaiser, Rayo, and Bravo. The crowd was very, very quiet for most of this match, up until maybe the last 45 seconds, maybe. They didn't give a shit about this. They never give a shit about this. On most weeks, they really don't give a shit about any of this. Again, this works in AAA. This does not work anymore on the main roster. Maybe at first people thought it was kind of amusing or whatever, but as with a lot of things on these shows, they just wear it out and they drag it out for far too long. until there's just nothing left. Nobody cares about this. Now, I'm sure the match between the two Americanos on the AAA show on May 30th is going to just be fucking molten hot. And I'm actually looking forward to seeing that match. It will work in that environment because the angle is over, Kaiser is over, and it's going to be a big blow off. What I'm saying is on this show, on most weeks, when you send these guys out there, and especially you send them out there and they're all wearing masks, and some of them are dressed up exactly the same, and they're all kind of clustered up and bunched up together. You can't even tell who's who sometimes when they're diving and they're doing this and that. And I'm like, well, was that Ryo? Wait, was that Bruto? Like, what the fuck am I watching here? Nobody cares. So there was a lot of action. I'll give him that. It was hard to follow at times because they were all bunched up. But Julio missed the 450 splash. El Grande, Kaiser, Ryo, and Bravo, they all loaded up their masks with little metal plates. Shit went sideways, though, for them. In the end, though, Americano, Kaiser, and his crew picked up the win after El Grande put down Bruto with a running headbutt using the metal plate. I cannot adequately put into words how little I give a shit about any of this. And the sooner they end this, the happier I'll be. Because now it's just like every week, we got to get to the May 30th match. We got to get to the mask match. So we just have to fill time. We have to get these guys on the show. Because we have to promote our AAA show. So we'll have the obligatory Americano segment. And we just got to get to May 30th. Can we please get there already? Like, I'm done with this. Now, after this, they cut to a shot of Paige and Brie Bella. They're in the back, the women's tag team champions, and they're warming up for their tag team title defense later on in the show. When all of a sudden in the background, a giant mascot appears. Now, we just had a funeral for a mascot on SmackDown not even 2 weeks ago, right? I am still in mourning over the gingerbread man. But in the background, I see this mascot. And he is bearing with him a bag with DoorDash. And Michael Cole in particular begins to lose his mind. Really, it's Michael Cole and Corey Graves. And they start to lose their shit. And they have to fake pretend to be excited that what a guy is here. Yes, it's what a guy. And he's got the DoorDash delivery, and there's Tozawa. And there's Otis. He's got a delivery for him. Because you see, Otis is a big boy. Of course, he's got to eat. He's got to get his carbs and his protein. And so this was their opportunity to go ahead and plug the shit out of DoorDash and pretend that they actually care and that they give a shit about this. DoorDash came through in the clutch. This is some of the cringiest shit that I've seen all year. They have to find ways to work this into the show. And then just that fake enthusiasm. Oh my God, this is just fucking ridiculous. Whatever. They aired a video package after this on Tribal Combat, which included footage of Roman Reigns and Jacob Fatu. It wasn't like it was some generic old package they've run before, talking about the perils of Tribal Combat. It's a brand new video, narration and everything, right? For a match that was only announced a few segments before this. This is like, I'm watching this. I go, the match was literally, like the stipulation was literally pitched and accepted. I mean, from this point in the show, maybe it wasn't even a full hour. This was actually worse than when Tony Khan, and Tony Khan does this all the time, but this was worse than when Tony Khan has the graphic up on screen. Like when somebody wins a match, right? And now they're going to be challenging for this title or that title the next week or the pay-per-view, or somebody extends a challenge to somebody. And then as soon as the segments are, boom, the graphic is there. Like the main event could end. And within 10 seconds, there's already like the graphic is up on screen and everything, right? And sometimes you could understand it. It's like, okay, well, they had two graphics on standby. But like sometimes there's a challenge that just somebody makes and it comes out of nowhere. Like they pitch it in a promo or something. And then boom, the graphic is up on screen like 10 seconds later. And I'm like, oh, I just laugh, right? This is even worse. This is a video. This was a whole ass video with like a narration and everything. They don't care. They don't give a shit. So anyway, this video package here was telling us about the dangers of tribal combat. They're really trying to make tribal combat sound like just something that will change you. It will change your life. It will change your career. You'll never be the same, like Hell in a Cell, right? You go in, you don't come out quite the same way as you did when you went in. It's hard for me to sit here and just suspend my disbelief and buy into this bullshit, because what is tribal combat? Based on what they've established in the past, right? Unless they make changes to it. What is tribal combat? Tribal combat is every plunder match, every Extreme Rules match, every no DQ match that you see in WWE any given week. We saw, you know what? We saw tribal combat tonight. Finn Balor and JD Mcdana had tribal combat tonight. They just didn't call it that. There's literally nothing different or unique about tribal combat outside of the fact that you can bet that Roman Reigns will be a part of it. That's it. I mean, that is it. That is it. But it's their job now, I guess, to convince people that it's something more than what it is, and it's going to be some big special attraction. But basically, we're getting no holds barred between Roman Reigns and Jacob Fatu in Italy. Backstage, Kathy Kelly is with the Usos, who know what tribal combat is all about. Jey Uso does. He's been in tribal combat before. But wait a minute. It's LA Knight. LA Knight is here to interrupt. We have not seen LA Knight on this show in a very long time, but there he is. Last time we saw LA Knight, he confronted Gunther backstage because they were building to a match between Gunther and LA Knight. We all know how that would have gone for LA Knight. So really, he got spared. But this is the first time we've seen him in weeks. He shows up, and there he is, and Jimmy says, "Not now." And Knight calls them out for doing the same damn thing that the three of them beat up the Vision for doing at WrestleMania. So what's the difference, he says. And Jimmy holds Jay back, and again he tells him, "Not now." And off they go. Now, earlier today, Michael Cole sat down with all ego Ethan Page, who is going to be challenging for the Intercontinental Championship this Saturday. So let's go to that interview. So we pitch it to the footage. And Ethan immediately, right out of the gate, hands him a card with some stuff written on it that he wants Michael Cole to read. And really, it was just him putting Ethan over and talking about his wonderful jawline and everything else about him. So Cole eventually just taps out and says, "Look, I can't do this anymore." And he asks, why do you act like this? And he praises Ethan's skills, but he just thinks his ego will cost him against Penta at Saturday night's main event. And Paige calls it confidence. It's not ego, it's confidence. Not much to this, but I do have to say, I think that Paige has been nailing it so far in his time on the main roster. He hasn't been up for very long. It's the Ethan Page that you saw in NXT. If you paid attention to his work down there, he's just doing it up on the main roster. And he fits like a glove so far. I think he's doing very well. And I would not at all mind seeing him win that title on Saturday from Penta. That would be fine with me. I mean, when I first saw him on Raw, I said, give it 6 months. He'll be the Intercontinental Champion, but by SummerSlam. This is a little bit sooner than SummerSlam, but they are doing the match this week. And I'm just saying, I like Penta, and I'm fine with Penta retaining. But if Ethan Page was to walk in there on Saturday and win the championship, I'd be happy. I'd be happy for him, and I think that he would also make a good Intercontinental Champion. And there's some storyline potential with this sort of uneasy alliance that he's been building with Rusev. You could have some fun with that. I'd like to see it. After this, we have Paige and we had Brie Bella defending their women's tag team titles against Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez. The winners of this match will be defending the titles against Nia Jax and Lash Legend on Saturday night's main event. So Paige missed a dive out to the floor, got cut off early on, and then I think it was Raquel, swung her like hard into the barricade. And Paige has had some head issues, some injury issues in the past. And she just she swung for the fences with this woman. After the commercial break, Paige got a hot tag to Brie. There was some sort of double team neck breaker spot here by the baby faces that it did not look good. Brie went to the top. Liv Morgan was out there. She got up on the apron and shoved her off, which hung her up on the top rope on the way down. Referee, though, saw Liv's interference and ejected her. I think it was Jessica Carr. She ejected Liv Morgan. So Raquel passed one of the women's tag belts to Roxanne. She tried to use it, but Brie ducked and then rolled her up for the win. What a riveting finish that was. The flash pin, and Brie Bella and Paige retained their championships. Now, after the match, as the champions are in the aisle, they're celebrating, they're looking at the Judgment Day in the ring. Liv Morgan, who had been ejected, she comes charging back out. She attacks the champions from behind. Judgment Day had the advantage until Lyra Valkyria and Bayley ran out to make the save. Bayley dropped Liv with a Bayley to belly. Lyra took out Perez and Rodriguez with a basement dropkick. There really isn't a whole lot else to say about this. Are they potentially building to a title match with Bayley and Liv Morgan? Maybe. Stephanie Vaquer is expected to be back within the next few weeks. She's not going to be out for much longer. My guess is when she comes back, we go right back into it because we never got the rematch. In the meantime, though, Liv Morgan has nothing to do. So like Bayley and Lyra, clearly they're still a team. But if they wanted to do even like a television match, if they wanted to do a singles match with Bayley and Liv, you could definitely do that. Match itself was really, it was not that good. It was not that good. This pairing here with Paige and Brie, this thing has got to come to an end soon. I figure it's not going to end until Nikki comes back. So we don't know when Nikki Bella is going to be back. You know, she had surgery. We don't know. I still see, I envision a situation where Nikki comes back. See, Nikki costing them the titles, though. Not in a way that's going to upset Brie, because they're not going to split up Nikki and Brie. I think they may do it in a way, I mean, it would turn the Bellas heel, but do it in a way where, you know, they basically turn on Paige. Something like that. Something like that. I could see something like that happening, but this team, it's a makeshift team. They were never supposed to be partners in the first place. There's no established relationship between them other than, okay, they're friends from back in the day, right? They came up in the same era. But it's not like there's this vast, rich history with these women. And it's like, no, it's just like they were just sort of put together and there's just not a whole lot there. And I haven't been impressed by what they've done. The sooner they get the belts off them, the better. You know, I hate to even say it, but I mean, if they were to lose the belts back to Nia and Lash, I wouldn't even mind. At least they're more of a legitimate team. Send them to Evolve. You know, those women's tag team titles are supposed to be defended cross-brand. Technically, there is nothing stopping them from defending those titles in NXT or Evolve or AAA. I guess AAA is a completely different promotion, but still. Can we send Brie Bella to AAA? I think that would be okay. Let's send Brie Bella on excursion for a while. Then we had LA Knight walking up to Seth Rollins outside the building. And he says, you know, things are going to go badly for Seth tonight, going out there by himself against the Vision. But if you need help, you ain't getting it from me. So he tells him, have fun getting stomped out. Yeah! And off he goes with his rolling luggage. And he didn't come back. He was a man of his word. He's like, fuck you. You're on your own tonight. And he did not, in fact, show up later in the show to help Seth Rollins. So, okay. Not a big night for LA Knight, but at least he was on the show. After this was the one and only thing that happened on this entire show that was truly newsworthy. The Oba Femi Open Challenge. This was week number 3. Week 1, we had Tozawa coming out, and it was almost like, okay, are we going to get Tozawa and Oba Femi? And then Tozawa chickened out, and it ended up being Otis, I guess, in between his DoorDash deliveries. And they had a fun 2-minute sprint. And then by week 2, nobody wanted to come out and accept the open challenge. So he had to go find his own opponent. He went backstage. Los Garza was there. And he literally dragged them out to the ring, beat the shit out of them, and that was the end of that. So I said, boy, it feels like they're already running out of steam. They're running out of ideas with this thing. I sure hope they have something good up their sleeve for where this open challenge is going to go. Oba comes out. And he's in the ring. He's in the middle of his entrance, right? The arena is still darkened, right? He's got his back turned. And as he's posing in the ring, Brock Lesnar. And you could kind of tell who it was, but I mean, it was dark. It just looked like some Viking had jumped into the ring with the ponytail and attacked this man from behind. And he hoisted him up on his shoulders. The lights came on. We see that it's Brock Lesnar, right? He has him on his shoulders for an F5, drops him for an F5, picks him right back up. Second F5, picks him back up. Third F5, picks him back up. Fourth F5, 4 of them. And he leaves this man laying. The crowd, of course, the people lost their shit because they were not expecting to see Brock Lesnar on this show. So the crowd is buzzing. And then Brock ends up leaving. Oba is down in the ring. He's selling the beat down here. He was put down in a way that we have not seen on the main roster. The first time now. First time since coming to Monday Night Raw that Oba Femi has been left laying by somebody. And it's the one guy, I guess, that you could believably say that you could see him being laid out by in that regard, which is Brock Lesnar. And the other thing that I noticed is that for the second time, Brock Lesnar split his pants. This happened once before on SmackDown. This is the second time now that this man has split his pants. Now, I don't know where he is buying his jeans. I don't know if he's buying one size too small to make it look like, he's wearing these like skinny jeans. But he's going to have to either go one size up or he's going to have to buy a different brand because this ain't working out too well for him. He's 0 for 2 against the blue jeans. Yes, he did. He ripped his fucking pants again. Oh, my God. Death, taxes, and Brock Lesnar ripping his pants. Goodwill. Yeah, I don't think Brock Lesnar is shopping at Goodwill. With the money he's made over the years. But I saw something like a flap of something behind him. And I'm like, did he rip his fucking pants again? And then they showed the replay. I go, son of a bitch, he did. Because I saw something and I couldn't tell at first what it was. And I'm like, was he coming out with like a shirt tucked into his back pocket like he's Jeff Hardy? I'm like, he doesn't do that. No, he ripped his fucking pants. Him ripping his pants is more entertaining than 85% of these shows. It shouldn't be that way. Now, after a break in the back, Adam Pearce was demanding answers from the producers. And then he walks into his office and he finds Paul Heyman waiting for him. And he says to Heyman, he goes, I filed the retirement paperwork for this guy. What the hell is going on here? And Heyman hands him what he goes, is that a subpoena? He goes, no, it's not a subpoena. He goes, it's a contract signed by Brock Lesnar. I don't know where that came from. See, like if I'm Adam Pearce in that situation, because Paul Heyman will rarely botch in a promo. He'll rarely misspeak like that. I'm wondering if that was live. It almost had to be live, I guess, because if I'm Adam Pearce, like it would have taken everything in me not to fucking break at that moment. But it's signed. It's signed by Brock Lesnar. And if you can get Oba Femi to put his signature on this contract, then it will be Brock Lesnar and Oba Femi at Clash in Italy. It'll be the big attraction that you're looking for your PLE. And of course, Oba Femi is going to sign the contract and we are going to get the rematch in Italy. And that is going to be a big attraction on that show. And it's not going to go very long. It's not going to go much longer than it did at WrestleMania. But if you do Brock and Oba, yes, that is a big attraction on that show. It will help sell more tickets. It will help put more eyeballs on that PLE. It will make headlines just by virtue of him showing up tonight, because all of these different sports outlets covered it like a legitimate retirement at WrestleMania, including ESPN. They covered it like a legitimate retirement. They had people convinced that it, not everybody, but they had a lot of, especially outsiders or casual fans, that this man retired at WrestleMania. And why not? It was the perfect retirement. Everyone keeps talking about Oba Femi as like the next Brock Lesnar. He's going to be a future world champion inside of a year. He's going to be the guy they can build around, right? For years to come. So what better way to go out? You used to be that guy. Now you put over the future, and you do it on the biggest possible stage. You do it at your big annual tentpole event in front of a big crowd. You get a lot of love. You get to ride off into the sunset, right? Looking like a hero. But again, this is Brock Lesnar, and Brock Lesnar will retire whenever he feels like he's ready to retire. But if there's money to be made, he will be there to make that money. If you think that he is going to retire in Minneapolis at SummerSlam, all right, even that, if he gets a big money offer to come back, whether it's a Saudi show, that's Saudi WrestleMania next year. It is still very hard for me to believe that with WrestleMania coming to Saudi Arabia, that they would not want Brock Lesnar on that show. And WWE and TKO wouldn't go to him if they knew that and say, hey, we need you for that show. What's it going to take to get you for that show? You think Brock is going to go, oh, man, I don't know. I told everybody I was retired. I'm a man of my word. It's such a perfect play. Like, he's going to be like, all right, write the fucking check. Write the check, because that's just who he is. I don't think he gives a shit about all this other stuff. It doesn't matter to him. Like at WrestleMania, I wasn't convinced. The thing that got to me when I was watching it again was just him crying. It never struck me as like genuine emotion. It was like he was acting and trying to pretend to be sad and somber. And that's what made me go, okay, I'm not so sure about this, right? Well, we'll see, right? It could be, but I wasn't convinced. But I was certainly not expecting him to show up tonight. So that was a good surprise. They caught me off guard. They caught the crowd off guard. Nobody saw this coming. And now the open challenge gimmick is over. It's done. It's for the better. It's for the better that this open challenge is put to rest once and for all. What are they going to do in Italy? I think Brock goes over. That's what I think. I think this is going to be a trilogy. And the only question, to me, the question isn't even who wins in Italy. The bigger question is, when do we get the third match? SummerSlam would make the most sense, sure, but I put Night of Champions out there just because, for obvious reasons. And Roman Reigns is not scheduled for that show. So we'll probably have a WWE title match. They're going to need another big attraction for that show. Brock and Oba in their blow-off match would be an attraction. So it's either that or it's SummerSlam. But that's what we're headed for here. And as long as when this is over, he puts over Oba one more time, then it's fine. Like, the rest of this doesn't... The fact that he got put down tonight, so what? So what? They're building to a match. If all they do is have Oba Femi constantly go over this man every time we see them in a ring together on TV, that's going to be fucking boring. And they did that every week going into WrestleMania. And that was perfect. But if you're going to continue this feud, there's got to be some give and take. It can't just be Oba, 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 Oba. You got to give something to Brock along the way. You got to make this believable, especially if you want to get 3 matches out of it. It's got to be competitive. So I don't want to hear this bullshit of like, oh, what did they do to Oba? Like, he got jumped from behind, dude, by Brock fucking Lesnar. Anybody getting jumped from behind by Brock Lesnar and put down ain't getting up. So that's fine. I just question whether or not we even need to be doing this. But it looks like we're getting the trilogy after all. Now, Kathy Kelly interviewed the Street Profits backstage heading into their tag team title match coming up on Saturday. And in case you didn't know, they want the smoke. So Angelo Dawkins, he spotted Seth Rollins, I guess, off in the distance, off camera, getting ready for the main event. And Montez Ford could see this, and Montez Ford was like, look, you do whatever you want to do. He didn't want to have anything to do with Seth Rollins. So Dawkins goes over to Rollins, and he thanks him for last week because, he took the bullet for him. Rollins thanks him for that, and he apologized for Dawkins getting taken out. You remember, that's why Montez Ford got so angry last week when he ate that spear. But Rollins told him, look, I have a match to go worry about. And so he did. It was the main event of the show tonight. It was Seth Rollins one-on-one. Yes, indeed. It was Seth Rollins against Austin Theory. What an exciting main event. I was waiting all night long for this main event. Rollins sent Theory into the corner with a buckle bomb. Theory came back and rammed Seth's ankle into the ring post, and that became the target for the remainder of the match, working over Seth's knee. And did a very believable job, too, of selling the knee. Like, even when the match was over, he was still kind of limping around. I could see where there were going to be people on social media. Oh, is he really hurt? No, he's just very good at selling. So he's selling the knee. And Rollins came back there with a Falcon Arrow. He tried for a stomp. The bad wheel, though, he couldn't follow through. He tried for a pedigree. Theory, though, blocked it. Torture rack bomb. Only got a near fall. And with Rollins down, Theory went for a stomp. Rollins, though, caught him with a clothesline. And he climbed up on the middle rope. But Theory had the referee's attention. And as he had the ref's attention, Logan Paul outside, he shoved Rollins off the ropes. Theory then stomped Rollins, only for a 2 count. So Logan then slipped Theory the brass knucks. And then he distracted the referee. Rollins, though, came back with a super kick. Rollins went for the brass knucks. Referee caught him, though, and took him away. Theory tried for a roll-up on Rollins, who was distracted. But he rolled through into what actually was a pretty good pedigree. And he hit the pedigree, and he actually won with it. That doesn't happen as much. It doesn't happen as much anymore, but he actually won with the pedigree. Logan immediately hits the ring, and he pounces on Rollins. And here comes Angelo Dawkins down to the ring to make the save. He ended up in peril, though, which is exactly what Montez Ford had warned him about. And even still, here comes Montez Ford. He's going to come out to save his partner. And he even did his trademark running dive out over the ring post, wipes out the Vision out on the floor. And then he gets back in the ring, and he's telling Dawkins, he's like on his knees, and he's telling him, like, I told you. He tried to warn him. And as he's admonishing his tag team partner, you can see in the background, here comes Braun Breaker, who charges down to the ring, gets into the ring. Rollins is, I don't know where Rollins went. I think he was outside somewhere. But Montez shoves his partner out of the way. He takes the bullet, and he eats a wicked spear from Braun Breaker. So Rollins hobbles back into the ring, and he jumps Breaker, but he ends up getting speared for his troubles. Then it was 3-on-1. It was the Vision on Rollins. Outside the ring, Austin Theory and Logan Paul, they had Rollins, and they were basically trying to lay him out across the bottom part of the ring steps, and Braun Breaker had the top part. They were going to kill this man. Adam Pearce, though, and his merry band of useless men, they come out. They were actually useful for a change, and they were able to stop the attempted murder from taking place. Breaker did hit Rollins with one more spear, and then he is just like fucking ground and pound until they were finally able to pull him off of him. And then I think what happened here is that there was just a lot of time left to kill because there was a lot of staring and just mean mugging the camera. And they kept cutting back and forth between the Vision and Rollins and the Vision. And I'm like, where is this going? What are they waiting for? And then finally the credits came up on screen, and then finally they went off the air. The best part was actually after they went off the air. They, I guess, were required to put a message up on the screen that said, this program contains product placement. Yeah, no shit. Tell me something I don't already know watching this show. Product placement, you say? Gee, I wonder what was the giveaway here? Was it the giant mascot earlier in the show, or was it the countless times that Michael Cole and Corey Graves were fucking orgasming over DoorDash. What was the giveaway here for the product placement? I will tell you this. Nobody will ever reach orgasm watching Monday Night Raw. Definitely not this episode. Outside of the Brock Lesnar stuff, I mean, I got nothing for you. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot to talk about. We had some matches made, right? We had 2 matches officially added to the Clash in Italy card, a match added to Saturday night's main event. That's it. That's it. That's it. There was nothing else to this show. Nothing else to this show. Raw is by no means as bad as SmackDown, but it's not very good either. Raw is kind of falling backwards into the doldrums, kind of like SmackDown did, but it's just not quite as bad as SmackDown. And I said this last week. I said it really hit me last week that this show, not that it would be infinitely better, but it would be better if CM Punk had not disappeared. When he was the world champion, again, he was on the show. He wasn't defending the title every week, but he wasn't against, or they weren't against using him in a way where he would defend the title on the show. It was almost like he was having these little side quests, right? Whether it was Finn Balor or whatever. And then there would be this great promo he'd bust out every now and then. His absence has been very noticeable on this show. And I would say, you know, the sooner they can get him back on TV, maybe things will be a little bit more interesting. But again, I still feel like the next time we see him, he'll be on SmackDown and not on Raw. And frankly, I'm not even sure when he's going to be back. I think there was a report that may have come out tonight that suggested he may not be back until after SummerSlam. I don't get the impression he's going to be back anytime in the near future. You really feel it. You really feel it without him being on this show. But there's just not a whole lot of exciting stuff going on. Now we have Saturday night's main event, which is coming up this weekend. Let's run through the card. We actually have 5. We have 5 matches on this card. We have Becky Lynch is going to be going one-on-one with Sol Ruca. As far as we know, the Intercontinental title will not be on the line in this match, and that's fine. I'm going to go Sol Ruca to win, especially if the belt's not on the line. She should win. Street Profits against the Vision for the World Tag Team titles. This should be a win for the Vision. Paige and Brie Bella defend the Women's Tag Team titles against the Irresistible Forces. You know, I had picked Paige and Brie to win when I talked about this on the Sound Off. I'll stick to that. I'll stick to that, I guess. But like, if they change the titles, that's fine. Who cares? I mean, I'm just apathetic towards all of this. Penta and Ethan Page for the Intercontinental Championship. I'm going with Ethan. I'm going with Ethan Page. I'm going to say new Intercontinental Champion. And then Rhea Ripley, Alexa Bliss, and Charlotte Flair. They take on Jade Cargill, Michin, and B-Fab. I'm going with Jade, Michin, and B-Fab for the win, and I'm going to say Jade pins Rhea to do it. And then we end up with Jade and Rhea announced for the women's title at Clash in Italy. That's my prediction on that. That's it. That's your Saturday night's main event card. Not the most exciting card, but I guess for a Saturday night's main event, it sounds about right. And look, they have a PLE the following Sunday, so they're not going to overload this show. So I get it. But that's what I got for you. That's your Raw review. Hey, A. Suami. Thank you for being a channel member. I appreciate that. Actually, let's get to your super chats. See what you guys are talking about here. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, if I agree, if Ethan and Penta headline the show, definitely I think a title change. But you know what? I could see them headlining with Becky and Sol, and I could see them headlining with Rhea. because Rhea's still one of their top stars. They will, however, not be headlining with the women's tag team titles. That will not be happening. Joseph Stewart, happy Monday to you, sir. Good to hear from you. Do you remember when Rikishi destroyed Stone Cold's truck on SmackDown? I remember when Rikishi ran him down with his automobile. And I remember when Austin came back and kicked his ass. I don't remember him destroying his truck. Was the Stone Cold Rikishi match not really a wrestling match, just Stone Cold getting revenge on him for running him over? It's exactly what it was. Yeah, I don't remember it being much of a wrestling match either. Who would you have booked? Who would you have booked the Who Ran Over Stone Cold with a Car story? Oh, I wouldn't have done it. I just thought it was very stupid. I wouldn't have booked the angle to begin with. What are your 5 favorite Jack Nicholson scenes in Batman 89? I don't think I have 5. I don't know. I don't think I have 5. Well, I'm gonna say when Joker kills the guy with the toy buzzer, that would be one. When Joker gets dropped into the vat of acid, takes the acid bath, and when he dances to "Party Man" by Prince in the museum. Those are my 3. Buy or sell, Vito Corleone or Tony Soprano? Tony Soprano. Michael Corleone or Tony Soprano? Tony Soprano. I'm a Sopranos guy, not a Godfather guy. Tony Montana or Tony Soprano? See, that's a little bit harder. I like Tony Montana. I'm still going Tony Soprano. What are your 5 favorite scenes in The Batman? Jeez. The car chase scene when he chases the Penguin. The Riddler introduction, probably at the beginning of the movie. That was kind of creepy. And I'll say the scene where the DA gets blown up. Happy 25th anniversary to Shrek. Interesting. 25 years of Shrek, huh? Are you a fan of the movie Copland with Sylvester Stallone? You know, that's one that I never saw, and I think that came out in like 97, right? I think it came out in 97 or something, I believe. Yeah, I never saw it, though. That was the one I think Stallone put on some weight for that role. I heard some good things about that movie. Anyway, Joseph, thank you. Always an interesting mix of questions there. Electric Feel with a $10 super chat. I was thinking about your pedigree while I was thinking about your pedigree. Oh, pedigree comments. You had me very confused there for a second. I was thinking about your pedigree comments while I watched a few Dudley Boys matches. I saw Spike Dudley do the coup de grace as a regular move. He used to only get a 2 count if he was lucky. Yeah, because Spike Dudley was like 120 pounds, dude. It's a little bit of a difference between Spike Dudley doing it or Seth Rollins. Spike Dudley was like he's like a fucking child. Hulkling93 is a Yankees fan. I'll give respect where respect is due. Congrats to your Mets on winning the Subway Series. That's right. We did. Very gracious, Hulkling. I appreciate that. Dried Chicken says if Brock Lesnar is going to wrestle his last match in WWE, it should be a last man standing match. Let's will it into existence. I'd be okay with that. He had a pretty great one at SummerSlam a few years ago against Roman. Hulkling again. Commentary's framing of Jacob is Dasani water bad. No mention of the exposed buckle. A blatant use of an exposed turnbuckle is dirty every day of the week, twice on Sundays. Stop the cap. Oh, that was from Backlash. Right, he went into the buckle at Backlash. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to take any of the commentary seriously when they're, you know, orgasming over DoorDash. So I try not to pay too much attention to them. Barry says, I like Bayley, but why does Cole keep calling her a legend? Because in WWE, that's what she is. She's one of the 4 horsewomen from NXT. Multi-time world champion. She's been there for over a decade. She's a future Hall of Famer. Dry Chicken says, Raw is creatively bankrupt. Triple H taking these visits to DC has contaminated his brain cells. Raw is definitely Raw. The whole product is creatively bankrupt. Triple H fears Oba in terms of creative. B-Man the Champ says, I knew Brock wasn't going to retire. There's no such thing in wrestling. At this point, I fully expect Cena to be in a match by the end of 2026. Nope, you see, that's the one. He's not coming back. That one I believe, 100%. He's not coming back. That one, that's the one that you should believe. John Cena is not coming back to wrestle. Alexander, Sami Zayn should beat up all the sponsor mascots. I think the sponsor mascot is bigger than him. Did you see that guy tonight? What a man. I think What a Man could probably take Sami in a match. Also, did Jacob perform Sub-Zero's fatality and rip Roman's throat out with the Tongan death grip? He should. That would get him over. The final boss, WrestleVote said Punk gone till SummerSlam. Well, there you go. Well, that sucks for the product, doesn't it? If that's true. Derek J speaks with a 10. Fuck it. Put the belts on Fatu and Gunther in the same night. I know it's unlikely and it won't automatically make up for bad writing, but the show sucks so much. I am begging for something different. Yeah, brother, you and me both. These shows are very difficult to sit through. And I just keep hoping for it to change and improve, and it just doesn't seem to be happening. I don't know, man. I don't know what's happened to the game I once loved. I don't know. Very, very low effort. Very low effort. MacTub, how much do you think Punk's elevated his legacy since his return to wrestling in AEW and WWE? I think it was in tatters after the AEW implosion. Yeah, that would have been a bad way for him to go out. Him coming to WWE did big business right out of the gate. And looking at the run he's had, of course, it's elevated his legacy. I mean, there's not even a doubt about it. B-Man the Champ, with most B-level pay-per-views having only 5 pay-per-views. What are those? I believe, sir, you mean premium live events. With most B-level premium live events having only 5 matches nowadays, do you think WWE should go back to single branded? No. No, no, no. I get this question every now and then. Do not go back to single branded pay-per-views. I hate that. That is a terrible idea. That is a terrible idea. I see the point you're trying to make. It's a bad idea. Don't do that. Jeff Bray, we have Waterburger here in Odessa. Waterburger? Okay, that's a new one. It literally says Waterburger here in Odessa, Texas. Who wants to eat that? Like, that sounds terrible. A watered down burger. I mean, who the hell wants to pay for that? ASU Amy. Brie and Paige have no chemistry together. Everybody else involved in that match was more interesting. This comment brought to you by Whataburger. They don't have any chemistry. They don't, because they're not a real team. It sucks. Abyssal Zones, watch out. It's now officially May 19th. Don't say that date. Do not say that date. Alex says, were the In Your House pay-per-views WWE's response to WCW?
Nick Wayne's mom has got it going on. She's all I want, and I've waited for so long. Nick Wayne, can't you see? Go away and leave me be. I hope she likes this song, cause I'm in love with Nick Wayne's mom.
Nick Wayne's mom has got it going on. Nick Wayne's mom has gotta love this song. A ballad, a tune, a tribute to Mother Wayne. Yukio rules with the 28. Listen to the pipes on that guy, by the way. $28 super chat from Yukio rules. I'll get to you in a second. But Alex wants to know if the In Your House pay-per-views were in response to WCW increasing their pay-per-views. The answer is yes. Yes. There were a lot of moves that Bischoff and WCW made in the mid-90s that Vince had to respond to, or felt like he had to respond to. And so that was one of them. Also, did Diesel and Bulldog not have chemistry in their match? In the In Your House match. Oh yeah, that match was awful. That match was dreadfully boring. The famous story that when the pay-per-view went off the air, Vince, who was on commentary, threw his headset down in disgust. That was a terrible match. That was in October of '95. I think they were in Winnipeg, I believe, for that pay-per-view. That was very bad. But Yukio with the 28. Who is that at the beginning of your podcast that says, I have been begging them for a job? It makes me laugh every time. Also, that's Road Dogg. That's Road Dogg. I think he was on Busted Open, but he was talking about not knowing why Tony Khan hadn't offered him a job. It's a legitimate soundbite of Road Dogg basically begging for an AEW gig. And St. James Entertainment. What belt would you put on LA Knight? SmackDown or Raw? Oh, in terms of the world title, I think he'd look pretty good with that World Heavyweight Championship. To be honest with you, though, right now at this moment, the WWE title would probably make more sense. Get him involved over there. Get him away from the Vision and get him away from the Bloodline. In order to do that, he should go to SmackDown. Especially if Punk is not gone. If this is true and Punk is gone until at least SummerSlam, then you could always put LA Knight on SmackDown. Yeah, I kind of like that idea. Dried Chicken says, what if the cast of Jackass decided to say May 19th to Kane? So much. Yeah, Kane is old now. Kane is old. Still in great shape, though. But I would think that the entire cast of Jackass could probably just kind of swarm him and overwhelm him. He does still work out, though. He does still keep himself in shape. But if you're suggesting that we get Kane back on TV for some sort of angle, don't. Because I have no interest in seeing it. so he could feud with the MFTs again. No, that's Royce Keys. Royce Keys is going to feud with the. By the way, the MFTs. Like, what even are the MFTs at this point? Tama Tonga's got like 1 foot out the door, and then it's just Solo and Tala Tonga. The MFTs are basically dead. Maze the Great says, I asked your question to Mick Foley this past weekend, and he said, classified info, but you'll never know. He was great. I even got pictures. Well, that's great. Yeah, I told him to ask Mick. I go, ask him when his WWE Legends deal officially expires. So I don't know if you'll get an answer, but you could at least ask the question. You don't even have to bring up AEW. Just say, when is your WWE Legends deal up? But that's very cool. Is Kane still the mayor of Knoxville? Well, not Knox County. Not Knoxville. And he must be, because I saw there was a video that popped up in my my timeline the other day, like 3 days ago or something, of him giving his weekly or monthly address to his constituents. So, yeah, he's still the mayor. But anyway, the goal tonight was 600 likes, and we came close, but we fell short. I think we're right around 560. So the wheel was on the higher side tonight. It did not work out, which means no Be the Booker, which makes me wonder, because there's no SmackDown review this week. And there's no Saturday night's main event stream. So the next time I'm live with you is Wednesday for Dynamite. Dynamite is always very hit or miss when it comes to Be the Booker. So I don't know. We may have to wait until the Double or Nothing stream on Sunday night to give it a shot. I will be live after Double or Nothing, which is coming up this Sunday. Is that what we are going to see? Are we going to see bald MJF? That's the question. So we'll see if we do Be the Booker that night. But yes, I will be live with you on this channel again on Wednesday for the Dynamite post show. Tomorrow's a big day, though, because tomorrow's a brand new episode of the Uncrowned Wrestling Show. I got a whole lineup for you. And tomorrow night is a brand new installment of Tuesday Night Titans over on JD's channel. Friday, the reason I will not be here for SmackDown, as hard as it is to pull myself away from that show, I will be at the NYC Arena for House of Glory. We have a match between Amazing Red and Kevin Knight, the TNT champion, coming to HOG to wrestle the Amazing Red. It's going to be worth the price of admission alone just for that one match. And just announced today, Leo Rush, creepy little bastard that he is, he's coming back. And he's going to be challenging Darren Richardson, who's our Cruiserweight champion. Shotzi is going to be wrestling Lena Cross, and a bunch of other cool matches that have yet to be announced. So I will be on the call for that show on Friday. What is the most painful thing you ever felt? For me, it is officially a kidney stone, says Retro KOH. Most painful thing that I've ever felt? It's the pain of watching these shows. Every week. It's a pain that I can't describe. It's a pain deep inside my soul. Worse than any other pain that you can imagine. You should get Zoe Stark in HOG. It's not a bad idea. We may have to do that. I hear Nikki Storm is going to be a free agent very soon. The former Nikki Cross. Could be a possibility too. Alex says, Solo, you need to ban the wheel. No, the wheel is here to stay. Justin says, what's your thoughts on buzzer beaters? NBA or Be the Booker? I would think that the NBA ones are a little more exciting. That's what I would think. But I see the buzzer beater that you were referring to was for Be the Booker. Because we just passed 600. He was very slick with the way he did that there. Very, very slick. Oh, wait. Joseph is back. Joseph is with us. Joseph with a $9.99 says, I'm back, Solomonster. I have a question. I went back and I watched when Rikishi said he ran over Stone Cold. It looks like there was no plan. Was it on the who ran? Oh, I guess, are you asking me if there was a plan? When they shot the angle in 99, the answer is no. They did not have a plan. They did not know who it was going to be. We didn't find out about it being Rikishi until the following, October, I think it was? September, October? So I can assure you that when they shot the angle and they ran down Austin in November of 99, they had no idea that it was going to be Rikishi. I don't know how far in advance they decided on who it was going to be, but it was definitely not the year before. I could tell you that. All right, we're going to get one round out of it. We're halfway on the bonus goal, but we got the one round guaranteed. Boy, you guys really wanted it, huh? You're not sure about Wednesday, are you? Well, let's get to it.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to be the Booker.
He did it for The Rock. And do you remember what he told The Rock when he revealed that he had run down Stone Cold Steve Austin? He said it was because the white man was holding him down. The white man had held their people down. That was the explanation that they went with. I didn't know that they held down Yokozuna, a two-time WWF champion. Or that they had held down The Rock, who from the moment he came into the company was pegged to be a future world champion. Headlined, probably by that point he had already headlined 2 WrestleManias. Apparently Rock was held down all those years. Think of all the great island talents. All the Samoan talents and the Tongan talents that they had pushed and featured for so many years, but according to Rikishi, they were all held down. It didn't really hold water. It didn't really make sense. Edge and Christian. Kicking us off. That could be the scene, by the way, this weekend. In Queens, they could end up with tag team championship gold. Edge and Christian against the Motor City Machine Guns. Again, a match that could very well be a reality in these next few months. They may end up being involved in the same match at Wembley Stadium in a few months. This may be the first time that we booked a match and Be the Booker that then went on to become a reality. We may be foreshadowing the future here. We've got sensational Sherry Martel. Big Sherry fan. Big Sherry fan. Still feel like she still doesn't get the respect that she deserves. It makes me sad. There's a whole generation of like current fans who, if you showed them a picture of her, they would have no idea who she is. They would be like, who's that? They would have no idea. Sherry and Serena Deeb. As Britt Baker stands off to the side and goes, nobody cares. Nobody cares. I care. That would be a very good wrestling match. And our main event. Who's got time for one more match? One more match is what they're chanting, and one more match is what they shall get with Hangman Adam Page, the former AEW World Champion, who is no longer allowed to challenge for the AEW World title. So this will not be a championship match, but let's find out who he will be competing against. Why is everybody saying Giant Gonzalez? I wish it was Giant Gonzalez. You know what? I gotta give that the bell. I don't give a shit what you all say. I don't care what you say. Hangman Adam Page against Mantar is a bell. That is a bell for a main event. That's not worse. That's better. that's better. Don't tell me it's worse. At least Mantar is mobile. At least he can move around. See, look at this guy. You mess with the bull, you get the horns. Look at that. Look at those horns. Tell me you wouldn't want to see that. Tell me you wouldn't want. Tell me that isn't a collision main event that you wouldn't tune in to see. Hangman and Mantar. Come on now. Joseph says, were you a fan of the cartoon show Gargoyles? I was aware of it. I was not a fan of it. No. I was not. How would you have written Stone Cold off TV when he had to leave for his neck injury? Very simple. If he could wrestle that one last match, I would have had him lose, and I would have done an injury angle, probably with Triple H. Break a leg or something and just write him off TV. I mean, they're the ones who ended up feuding anyway when Austin came back, right? So. Joseph also says, would it have made sense for someone like The Rock or Kurt Angle to have run over Austin? Angle, no. Rock, I mean, you could always make an argument for Rock. Rock was always kind of 1A and 1B, neck and neck with Austin. Maybe out of jealousy, he wanted to get rid of him. Because look what happened in 2000, right? Rock ascended to the top babyface spot. He benefited. You look at it and go, who stands to benefit from Austin being on the shelf? And the number one answer is Rock. So you could have made an argument for being The Rock. Yukio says, oh, thank you for the 15, Yukio. Give bald MJF the Kurt Angle headgear with the hair. I think I suggested that. I think I mentioned that like last week. That would actually be very funny. But then everybody would say, oh, you're just copying off the Kurt Angle stuff. Joseph says, I met Sensational Sherry a long time ago. She was very nice and sweet. I miss her very much. That's cool. Where did you get to meet her? Dried Chicken says, Cope and Christian versus the Motor City Machine Guns. Winner gets a free barbecue catering deal. Maze the Great, it would be funny if one day you turned heel for a night and told the chat after stalling no buzzer beater, you haven't earned it. No. We hit the goal, we hit the goal. Got to be fair. Brian, what's going on, Brian? The main event needs more cowbell. Could be a cowbell match. There's your stipulation. I don't know. We're 7 out of 10 now in the bonus goal. We may well get to stipulations here. Depends how fast I run through these last few messages. EJ Slam, waiting for someone to bring up what Alpha did in court and say the Island Boys have been treated like the Mafia since, opposite of what Rikishi said. I think the Island Boys have been treated very well by that company over the years. Hulkling93, funny moment after Rikishi's heel turn is when he has a message relayed to The Rock. Rikishi later asks Rock, did you get my message? And Rock responds, The Rock did, and he wants nothing to do with you. Yeah, well, he always spoke in the third person. Probably went home and his wife was like, what do you want for dinner? Well, The Rock wants some chicken breast for dinner. And The Rock wants this and The Rock wants that. Joseph says, did you know Keith David was the voice of the gargoyle character Goliath on Gargoyles? Well, I do now. I did not know that before, but I do now. Try chicken. Thank you for the 5. What's with you and barbecue? Joseph says, have a good night. Solomonster, thank you for everything. Well, thank you for the messages and thank you for the support. And finally here, EJ Slemp with a $4.99. Sherry is on my Mount Rushmore with Heenan, Heyman, and Cornette. She's definitely up there, that's for sure. She's pretty high up on the list. It's hard to leave off someone like Jimmy Hart, though. He would make the cut. Sherry, I feel like, would be right underneath. Brock Lesnar. People also, they see Sherry as a manager, and she's a great manager. And I think even like Booker T has really put over how important she was when she was managing Harlem Heat. But even Shawn Michaels, when he first started out as a singles heel, talked about how Sherry looked out for him and was very important and instrumental in getting him off the ground as a heel. And also very instrumental in terms of his entrance music, because the first time that you heard Sexy Boy, it was not Shawn Michaels' voice on there. It was Sherry's. She was the one singing the song. And then you go back to like her and Savage and the Macho King and Queen Sherry. She managed DiBiase for a while. Who else did she manage? Like in WCW, did she manage anybody else that I'm missing? Well, she was with Flair for a while, I think. But people forget that she had this whole wrestling career, before that. And she was a women's world champion. Like, imagine that version of Sherry in the later years where, like, more attention in this company was devoted to the women's division. I honestly don't know how much she would have been pushed, just because she didn't look like your typical, like, Vince had a thing for blondes, clearly, if you watch his product over the years. I'd like to think that her talent would have elevated her to be one of the top stars in that division, but who the hell knows? For how many years they had fucking Laurinaitis scrolling through lingerie catalogs looking for women. Fuck these people. Anomaly Alex. This Raw review has been sponsored by DoorDash. I have nothing wrong with DoorDash. I like DoorDash. But it's terrible when they play it up over and over and over again, the way they do on this show. It gets to be too much. Anyway, have yourselves a good night. I believe they just started a brand new marathon on the WWE Vault channel of all 80s stuff. Oh boy. I know what I'm falling asleep to tonight. I put it on before for like 10 seconds, and it was some studio wrestling from the NWA. So I don't think it's just 80s WWE. It's just 80s stuff in general, which I like because you never know what you're going to land on. It's totally random. I love these like marathon streams they run for like a week at a time. So I'm going to go check that out. Probably find more interest in that than Raw tonight. And then we'll be back tomorrow. Brand new episode of the Uncrowned Wrestling Show that is dropping tomorrow. And then TNT, and back here for Dynamite. Until then, have yourselves a good night, and I will see you live here on the channel again real soon. Until then, take care, guys.